So in this section of the chapter, for quiz 6.4, I'm going to give you these weird looking polynomials, or not exactly polynomials, but equations that you need to solve using any of the methods that we've discussed before. For example, the first example, 2x minus 9 square root of x plus 4 equal to 0. So how can we use any of the methods that we've learned to solve something like this? Well, here you have to use what in mathematics we call a U substitution. Now that could be any type of substitution. It could have been a different variable, but I like the letter U. So U equals square root of x. Well, why do we do that? Well, in this case, if U equals square root of x, then what is U squared? Well, the square root of square root of x, which is equal to x. Now notice that I can replace x for U squared, and I can replace square root of x for U on this equation. So you get 2U squared minus 9U plus 4 equals 0. Now, since we can use the x method, the completing the square, or the quadratic equation, I'm going to decide if I can use the x method, which is the fastest method. So remember, it's a times c, and here is b. So 2 times 4 is 8, and b is negative 9. So what two factors of 8, when you add them, gives you negative 9. When you multiply them, gives you positive 8. Well, negative 8 and negative 1. So this becomes then 2u squared minus 8u minus u plus 4 equal to 0. Now, we factor the first two, we factor the last two. What can we factor between 2u squared minus 8u? Well, 2u. And you get u minus 4. What can you factor with negative u plus 4? Negative 1. That will give you u minus 4. Notice that these terms are the same, so we can factor them out, u minus 4. And then what we have left is 2u minus 1 equals 0. Now we split it into 2. So u minus 4 equals 0, and 2u minus 1 equals 0. Here we equal it to 4. Here we have 2u equal to 1. We divide by 2. We get u equals 1/2. But we're not done there, right? Because u is square root of x. So we gotta back substitute, okay? So now we know that square root of x equal to 4 and square root of x equal to 1/2. But we're not interested in square root of x, we're interested in x. So what do I do in order to get rid of the square root? We square on both sides. So x equals 4 squared, which is 16. X equals 1/2 squared, which is 1/4. And that's your answer. Now the same thing we're going to do for this problem. Well, not the same thing, similar though. So instead of using u to be square root of x, here I'm going to use u to be y squared. Now, y to the 4, well, if we square on both sides, you get u squared equals y to the 4, because y squared to the square is y to the 4. So you have u squared minus 15u minus 16 equals 0. Now again, you can use any of the 3 methods learned in class, but this one is, you can use the x method, which is a faster method. So the x method here, A times C is negative 16, and B here is negative 15. Two factors of negative 16 that when you add them gives you negative 15. Well, negative 16 and positive 1. So you have u squared minus 16u minus u minus 16. You factor the first two and the last two. Here we can only factor a u. You're left with u minus 16. Here you can only factor, oh, it's positive u, right? Because it's positive 1, my bad. So it's gonna factor just 1. You have u minus 16. Again, these are the same factors, so you can factor it out. What we left is u plus 1. So you have u equals 16. Oops, I jumped a step. Let me erase it. U minus 16 equals 0, and u plus 1 equals 0. So u equals 16, and u equals negative 1. Now the question is, what was u? U was y squared, so we gotta go back to that. So y squared equals 16, and y squared equals negative 1. Now we need y, right? We're not just looking for y squared, we're looking for y. So in order to solve this one, we square root on both sides. So y equals the plus or minus the square root of 16, and y equals plus or minus the square root of negative 1. Well, plus or minus the square root of 16, which is 4, and plus or minus the square root of negative 1, which is I. So this problem has 4 different solutions, and it makes sense because our our equation here is a degree 4. So we have 4 solutions. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below or ask me in class. Thank you.